Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Lo, your neighborhood psychic medium, trans channeler, and arc mechanic, keeping your energy body suited, booted, and activated for your next level. Today, we are going to be talking about offerings that you can give your ancestors and how to know when your ancestors are ready for a motherfucking offering, like immediately. Okay, so let's get into it. Number one is going to be talking about how do you know when your ancestors want an offering. Number one, you're either gonna taste it, smell it, or you're gonna have a craving for it. And no matter how much you eat that food, that craving will not go away. It's not about you, it's about them. So go ahead and run that thing to the altar. You feel me? Okay. Number two is you're going to start, for me, I start thinking about certain types of food, even if I don't eat it. Like I become obsessive about it. So like sometimes I get like a real intense urge to drink. Like, but I'm not a drinker. Like I'm definitely just, I have given up the days where I just be drinking, right? So like I'm only a social drinker. So like when I'm thinking, oh, I want to drink so bad, but I know immediately as soon as that thought comes up, like my ancestors want me to pour them up one. And my family is like, they party central when it comes to the drink. So like if it's time for a drink, it's time for a drink. And I usually keep a big ass bottle of Bacardi rum because they like that. Okay. Sometimes on occasion I'll get beers, wine, and on the very short occasion I might get like something else. Sometimes I'll get Ciroc for them because that's my favorite drink of choice, but whatever works for y'all. Okay. Sometimes you'll get a really intense craving or taste for those things and it will just be fucking relentless. Number two, you're going to have dry mouth. And this is typically around when you need to change the water on your altar or you have no water on your altar. You're just gonna get dry mouth. You're gonna wake up with dry mouth. You're gonna have dry mouth throughout your day. Right now they're giving me dry mouth to give me confirmation. Like you're going to get dry mouth and it's gonna be aggravating as shit, but you're going to get that. Sometimes, let's say for example, you're going to a family outing. Now this is particularly for my fam that do not eat the same foods traditionally that your ancestor ate. So like, for example, I don't eat pork. Okay, I don't eat that. I don't cook Southern meals. Like that's not a vibe for me. I don't want to cook collard greens and all that stuff. Like that's just intense for me. I will on occasion, usually the occasion that's what they want, but it's not my go-to when I'm thinking about a Sunday meal. So when I go to family members' houses who cook that food, who might make pork chops, who make ribs, things that my ancestors would like, I will make a very small plate of it and I'll come home and put it on the altar. There are times like my dad, he loves to grill. So whenever my dad grills, when I make my plate to come home, I'll make it just a little bit bigger so that I could put some of that food on the altar for them. Okay. So that's a way that you could do it. And then let me see, what's another way that you could see that your ancestors want an offering? They will straight up tell you, but the way that I think about it is whenever you look at your altar, sometimes your altar will draw your attention. Okay. Like if you have pictures on your altar, if you have pictures of your ancestors, there are times when they will draw your attention to the altar and you'll just be, oh my God. And you'll just be looking at it and eventually you're gonna be like, I haven't made an offering in a while, and then it's time to make an offering, baby. So that's something that you can do. Now here's a couple offerings that you can give on the regular and some that you can give on occasion. So number one, the one thing that you could do on the regular is do ancestor money. And I'm not prepared because I don't have any ancestor money over here. But typically what I do is I buy, hold on, let me just grab it. I'm gonna just grab it and then we can just. All right, guys. So I do not have any ancestor money, which is crazy. I always have a ton of it laying around. I need to buy some more. Okay. So you can use ancestor money. I typically have gold bricks. So these are just, so first of all, ancestor money is an Asian tradition typically used in China and Japan. Okay. And what they do is they make joss paper, and you can use the joss paper to make different types of money. Usually it's going to be printed in yen, okay, or in Inuit, inguats. Y'all, I'm sorry. I probably butchered the shit out of that. But you can also now find it in American dollars as well as European, and sometimes in certain African countries, money. But usually not all the time. It's usually going to be in one of the Western countries or Asia. So basically you can get them in gold bricks, you can get gold paper, you can get houses, cars, cell phones, all types of shit. And usually what it is traditionally used for is to burn for your dead. This one can be bent and then made into a brick, and I usually keep these on my altar, and then I will stuff them if I have like ancestor money I want to put in here, petitions that I want to put in here for a spell or something like that. I will stuff the box and then I will burn it. Okay. Typically what I say, if you get gold bricks, have a rather large cauldron or something safe to burn things in, because the tiny baby cauldron that you could burn ancestor paper in, this thing is huge. Okay. And I typically burn it inside of my cauldron. You see how that works? Okay. Just in case it falls over, because it will fall over. Okay. Is there anything else about that? Okay, great. So if you use ancestor money, I'm typically going to go as high as possible, as many zeros as possible. I like to be in the quadrillions because American dollars has a lot more value when you go to Asian countries, because they are export countries, not import countries. Okay, so their dollar amount, the exchange is different. So I like to buy the highest amount, and that way I know I'm still giving my ancestors the amount that they deserve. And I burn a lot of it. I'm typically around 3 per day, or if I haven't burned in a while, or I'm doing something specific, I will go in items of 3. So it'll be 3, 6, 9. If I'm doing a spell, I will do 12 or more. Sometimes I just kind of pull a certain amount out, and I'll just spread it around and layer them in different directions. Never ever burn ancestor money like you got 2 bills that's just flat together. That shit will likely not burn fully, and you'll have a half burnt bill wherever you burned it at. Okay. So 2, another way that you can give ancestor offerings is to give water. That's your number 1 offering. Okay. Make sure you always have water. The water is a conduit, so it allows them to kind of speak to you through that, but also it allows for energetic replenishment through the electrolytes in the water. Blah blah blah. Water has a spirit, blah blah blah. Okay. Alcohol is another offering that you can give, and let's see, alcohol, they like all types of alcohol depending on your family. So like some people, they prefer wine. Like my great grandmother, she liked Baileys, and they have like this milk alcohol, and it's like you usually use it to make like milkshakes or like milk-based frozen drinks. Sometimes you can use it to go with, let's say for example, like you can mix it into like a Coke and rum, and it'll be like a vanilla Coke and rum, stuff like that. You can use it pretty much anything, kind of like the little cocktail stuff. But my grandma just really loved that. My grandpa, like I told y'all, he liked his stuff. And I have a lot of female ancestors who didn't drink heavily, so they fucks with the wine, the Moscato, the rosé. Okay, you know, I put those things on my altar. Now, another thing that you can offer your ancestors is food. And when you know, like, let's say, for example, there are traditional dishes in your culture that your family like to eat, you can put those on the altar. For those of you who are practicing ATRs and different traditions like that, you can start by offering them, I think it's traditionally called like, I don't know what it's called, but it's basically pounded yam, which is basically like the fufu ball. and you can make like small amounts of that and then put it on the altar. And that's traditionally given to ancestors as well. You can make certain foods. So like when you cook dinner, you could take a little bit of what you cook for dinner and then put it on the altar, especially like if you make something and it's especially good. It's probably the best that you've ever made a particular dish. That's typically because the ancestor helped you make it, and it's good moves to like take a little bit of that and put it on the altar. Now I'm going to talk about a couple of other offerings that are not traditional but can be appeasing. Okay, so there can be things that you offer to the altar. So say for example, like my grandmother, she smoked cigarettes. So like if I wanted to appease her in any type of way, or I just wanted to give her an offering, I could go get the Newport menthol or the Marlboro menthol and put one of those on the altar. And if I was feeling especially special, I might go outside and light one and like put it out there for her. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I know a lot of practitioners that would do that for them because they are smokers. I am not one of them. My grandma died from COPD, and I just don't, I'm not with the shits, and I love my grandma, and I told her I'd give her anything else but that. So I typically put her favorite candies. Y'all know them little strawberry candies that got the little wrapper that look like a strawberry that just used to be in your grandma purse or your mommy, sister, cousin purse or whatever, and you used to get them at church. Like I always keep those in my pantry, and I occasionally put those on the altar. My grandma loved Reese cups. She loved Crunch bars, stuff like that. So I put that on the altar. So just, you know, typically what you're going to do is put things on the altar that you already know, the people that you know who are your ancestors that are recently passed away, that you knew in life, or that you know something about. You could talk to your mama, your daddy, your sister, your great grandma, great uncle, whatever, and see what type of foods did they like, and you can put those things on the altar as well. Another thing that you can do for the ancestors that's very easy. Now this one's very easy, especially if you don't have an ancestor altar, and maybe you might still be a closeted practitioner, or you may not be in a safe space to have an altar, etc., etc. You can pour libation. Libation is typically some type of liquid, usually water, that you are going to pour with gratitude affirmations for the ancestors. You typically want to make the first couple ashes to go to a specific ancestors that you knew in life, and to bless all of your ancestors that are of your highest good. I typically also bless even my darkest ancestors because I know the type of lineage I come from. So what I do is I bless them for their elevation. I bless that they are cleansed and that they are elevated in the light of the Most High. Ashe. And then I call forth my ancestors of the love and the light that are for my highest and greatest good to work with me. And I'm grateful for you being here and for you helping me, Ashe. I'm grateful for you helping me organize my life and bring me out of the chaos of the darkness, Ashe. I'm grateful for no longer being ignorant, Ashe. I'm grateful for healing through this, and this, Ashe. I'm grateful for no longer being covered in poverty, being covered in scarcity, Ashe. I'm grateful for being elevated. I'm grateful to be able to look into my daughter's eyes and know I did something different with her, Ashe. I'm grateful to said ancestor's name, Ashe. I'm grateful to this ancestor. Say their name, Ashe. I'm grateful to blah, blah, blah. Ashe. I'm grateful to my grandfather, Ashe. I'm grateful to my grandmother, Ashe. I'm grateful for those of my paternal line, Ashe. I'm grateful for those of my maternal line, Ashe. So you can kind of get the gist of like the type of things that you could say. And typically what I would say, if you're really new and you have absolutely nothing, no idea of what to say, this is what I would tell you to do. Make a list of the names of your ancestors that you know, okay? Make a list, and then you can take that list and you can go into... And then you can, let's say, for example, certain ancestors, you're going to know exactly who they are, what they've done for you, the type of person that they are, etc. So what you can do is get something generic going with ChatGPT. Put in the first names of your ancestors and just ask them to create a gratitude affirmation to each one of your ancestors and their elevation, and then doing something in general just to help you start your libation process. And it will spit some shit out. You might have to try a couple times just to make sure you get it right, and that can help you just jump the gun and get started. I believe that you could use whatever tool works for you, and I feel like for a lot of spiritualists, coming some shit right off the dome when you first begin is really hard, but getting started as quickly as possible is what matters, and being able to be consistent with that is what matters even more. Okay. Try doing some libation, and essentially what you're going to do is you're going to affirm every single time that you say an affirmation with Ashe. Ashe is basically the energy. Ashe is like your spiritual energy. It is the energy of creation. And when you're saying Ashe, you are affirming it. It's like when you say Amen. It's like when you're affirming it with your own power. And you're also affirming it with cosmic power at the same time, because they are the same. Does that make sense? Just like when you are a Christian and you end a prayer with Amen or Amen, that is actually the God of creation in Egypt, which is where Christianity came from. And so you are affirming with the name of power that what you have prayed has been submitted into the ethers and is to return to you. Unfortunately, a lot of those prayers are not worded correctly, so you just get more struggle. But there you go. What is there anything else that we need to talk about, Spirit? Okay, there are some other things that you can do to make, so these are some other unorthodox ways to make offerings to your ancestors, and this is going to be around breaking generational curses and generational habits, okay? So let's say, for example, you're an alcoholic, and your whole family they're all alcoholics. Everyone who has died before you is an alcoholic. And let's say your daddy passes away from being an alcoholic, and you saw how trifling that was and how his life was just a mess, and how it affected you. And now you're an alcoholic and your life is going down the same road, and you decide enough is enough. I won't do this again. I love my daddy, but I can't live the same life as him. And you go through the process of getting clean and being sober and starting to create healthy relationships and healthy dynamics of love and appreciation and connection. And you go through that process. That entire process is an offering to your father, that particular ancestor, and every ancestor who has dealt with that curse, that could not break it, that could not get clean, that could not claim to have a healthy lifestyle and to create something more for themselves and their life without having alcohol as their crutch, right? Changing up certain habits. So like for me and my family, one of the biggest things was getting healthy, right? My family eats a lot of Southern food. Southern food is typically going to be what I call like reclaimed food from slavery. So when slavery was around, you eat whatever the master has left over. And today, those foods aren't really good for you because those foods are laden with chemicals, toxins, and all types of heavy metals and shit. It wasn't so much back then because obviously our ancestors was raising those animals, and those animals were eating from the land without chemicals, without hormones, without a whole bunch of other shit. I just stopped eating a lot of the stuff that is culturally appropriate as far as my culture, right? So I just stopped eating that stuff. I eat on occasion. I might have some collard greens, but I'm not going to eat it with a neck bone. It has to be maybe like turkey butts in there. I am primarily pescatarian, but I will eat, bird every once in a while. But at this point, I just eat whatever. I'm going to be honest. But I'm trying to go back pescatarian because the vibes out here is different, okay? The vibes out here is different when you're eating animals, okay? So, You can, let's say, for example, like a lot of your family is not active, so they suffer from obesity. One of the biggest things that you could probably do as an offering with your ancestors is to break that chain by getting up every morning and going walking and working out and doing the things that you need to do to keep your body healthy and keep your body into a higher vibration mentally, emotionally, and physically. Okay, maybe if your ancestors had a hard time processing their emotions and being able to set boundaries, maybe it's time for you to go to therapy and to talk out your problems so that you can understand how to move different, how to set boundaries, how to stop people pleasing, how to gain a real sense of self without needing a whole bunch of people around to affirm you. And that's just, it's stuff that we got to do out here. Okay, it's stuff we got to do, and it's part of being out here doing that shadow work, doing the work, and really like, getting down with it. And I think that when you're doing the work, it's hard as fuck. Okay, so give yourself some grace and understand that your ancestors are giving you grace, and they know that you're gonna fail sometimes, and you just get back up and try again because they had to do it, and sometimes none of them got back up and tried again. So as long as you continuing to do it, they're gonna be proud of you anyway. Okay, one piece of advice: don't ignore your ancestors. If they want an offering from you, give it to them. If you can't afford to give them an offering, do libation. Everybody can afford to get water and pour water. Now, if your water is turned off, you can afford to walk your ass down to the water fountain somewhere and fill up a container of water and pour a libation. Okay, when you go to the park, there are free water fountains. You can fill up a little water bottle, walk around the corner to a tree, thank that tree for sending this offering to your ancestors, and pour libation. Okay, you don't have to do a lot, but you got to do something, because if you thinking that where you at is not what you want, then you need to elevate your ancestors so they can help you get the fuck up out of there. You feel me? If you want to know more about ancestor work, about working in the spirit, working with high dimensional beings, getting information pulled down from the ethers, then definitely tap in and subscribe. If you like this type of content, click the like button. Tell me what type of keys, what type of things did you learn from this video? Do you have any real questions about how to practice or how to do, the stuff that maybe other people aren't, saying? Okay, I hope you guys are having a happy hoodoo month, and definitely leave those comments down below, because I love to talk to y'all down in the comments. I love to hear from y'all. I love to have those conversations. I usually answer every single one of my comments, even if it take me a little while to get back to you. You matter to me, and I'm glad that you fucking exist. I'm glad that you are thriving and alive and moving with your highest I. May you continue to elevate and thrive and break those motherfucking generational curses and chains off of you and your family. 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. Let me see you be that one, that chosen one, and elevate yourself. I see you. Peace. Bye.